Good evening, dear friend. Welcome to tonight's version of this thing of ours. It's the Wednesday night version, the May 15th, the Ides of May version of this thing of ours. And I say to you, my friends, welcome, welcome, and welcome. Let me remind you, of course, as we always remind you, there are 174 days until the election. 174 days until the election. Blows my mind away. And we're going to be talking about something tonight. We're going to be using some terms called hegemony. We're going to be talking about a foreign policy look at issues that are so critical to us. And we're going to be talking about Israel and Russia and Ukraine and Gaza and China, and something which we never speak about in our world. Because if there's one area that America is absolutely the worst at, the most bereft of knowledge as far as what goes on, if there's one area that is the worst, it is indeed foreign policy. So, my friends, stand by, dear, great, and wonderful and terrific friends. Let me remind you that we will be here as we are 7 p.m. and 8 a.m. every day. Please make sure you are locked in and you are subscribed. Make sure you like this video because the metrics and the algorithms help. But first, before we begin, let us hear from our most important and critical sponsor. My friends, gold has been on an unstoppable run. It's gone up more than 81% in the last 5 years and almost 20% in the last 12 months. And it's happening, and happening now. Central banks are ditching the dollar and U.S. treasuries are buying more gold. And the good news is predicted to go up even more. It's true. UBS even said it would go up to $5,000. Noble Gold Investments' phone has been ringing nonstop off the hook. Everyone wants to protect their retirement with gold, and you can do the same. Noble Gold Investments can help you secure some gold to protect your future. From day one, you work with the same dedicated all-American expert. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced investor, Noble Gold Investments will make sure you get all the help you need. And this month, Noble Gold Investments will give you a free 1/4 ounce gold standard coin if you open a qualified account. So go to LionelNationGold.com right now. LionelNationGold.com. LionelNationGold.com. And remember, there's always a risk of investment and there's no guarantee of any kind. My friends, if there is one area that we are the worst at and the most bereft and the most devoid of any rational understanding, it is foreign policy and international relations. I have placed before you for tonight's subject a reference to Professor John Mearsheimer, who I don't know where he came on the scene. I followed him out of nowhere. He just came about. University of Chicago professor of international relations. And I fell in love with his explication and expatiation of the notion of realism. Tell me the way things are and not the way things idealistically, ideally should be. Tell me the way they are. I'm hearing things, my friends, and I thank whomever for the incredible platforms of information and influence that we are having, that we are seeing, thanks to this incredible revolution called the internet and digital streaming and the like. And I'm going to bring up to you a couple of examples of this. Tomorrow, I'm going to mention this a little bit now, but One of the things one of the terms which I have used, and I don't necessarily mean to wax scatological or coprolalic, or dare I say, in many respects, concupiscent, though I don't believe that's the case. But to be full o' shite is, I think, the most, how do I say this? The most current, the most relevant, the most recurring phrase that I find so problematic with so many people. It's not that they're mean. It's not that they're lying. It's not. It's not. It's not that. It's that they don't know what they're talking about, and they don't care that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't care that they don't know what they're talking about. They don't care. They don't know. And today I saw a couple of things, one in particular which blew me away. We're going to talk about this probably tomorrow morning, but I just have to share this with you. There was an interview with a person whom I despise for reasons that I don't want to go into detail, but in terms of a character, a personality, the stories, the background, the attitude, Bill Maher disgusts me. I know what I'm talking about. I don't have to deal with him, so it's really no big deal. So lo and behold, Bill Maher, and again, we'll talk about this more tomorrow, but Bill Maher and a lot of comedians have somehow figured out that they are possessed with a lot of knowledge, and that they know what's going on. And Bill Maher happened to be talking to a fellow named Bill Burr, whom I thought was pretty funny and pretty good, kind of a smart alecky guy. He's somebody that I think I would like. I would think I'd want to quote hang around him. He's very funny naturally. Bill Maher is not. Bill Maher's not. He's not funny. He's angry, and he's perverse, and he's pervert. He's just not a good person, and he's not funny. And for some reason, and by the way, he is promoted and funded by people who write for him. And there's nothing worse than to have somebody give you something who is written for you, because then when you realize, hey, I'm really saying these words and I'm smart. No. It's like Truman Capote said that you must understand that actors are not smart people. Actors, you very rarely meet somebody who is not who is an actor who is smart, because in order to be an actor, you cannot be smart. In order to be an actor, you have to be, in some respect, a little daft. So they were speaking, and I love people who do not understand nuance and complexities of issues. For example, I have a friend of mine who is a medical school professor, and one time the subject came up. He says, "I said somebody asked, is cancer caused by genetics, by prior predisposition, by environment, or by a rogue pathology that spontaneously creates a neoplasm or tumor or what have you?" And he answered, yes, meaning all of the above. Meaning it is a nuanced, very complicated thing, and for you to jump into it in a one issue is belies the complexity of what's going on. Okay, so Bill Maher was talking to Bill Burr, and Bill Maher said, look, the only way to prevent the bloodshed, the death, the carnage, the snipers, the attacks, everything that's going on in Palestine, Israel, Gaza, whatever, is for them not to attack Israel. And I realized A, he is stupid and does not understand it. B, he is paid off. C, he is not paid off, but merely wants to promote this because in some weird kind of crazy way, sometimes people like to take unique positions. Dennis Miller, who also is, to me, profoundly unfunny, though we might agree on some political thing. He took this thing one time where he became very conservative, and he was okay, fine, all right. It's kind of a twist, you know. Either way, and Bill Maher said something to the effect, and we'll talk more about this later. Bill Maher said something to the effect of, "You don't understand, Bill Burr. This is my area, not yours." And he said, "You sound like somebody who plays fantasy football and thinks they own an NFL team. You don't know anything about this. Have you been to Washington? Do you know anything? No, you don't know anything. You don't understand anything." And it was one of the best things ever says, you don't understand. Now, another thing I was going to say was I thought to myself, okay, this is good, but he represents somebody who really does not understand what's going on. Doesn't understand the complexity of what's happening. I was listening to an individual who I believe is going to and should receive the Pulitzer Prize for maybe, and I don't know if this particular form of delivery is warranted, but it will be Max Blumenthal, by virtue of knowing a subject so intimately. And I would say Aaron Mate, his partner, and anyway, I'll leave it there. Who were able to, through an encyclopedic review, almost to the point from 82 with Lebanon all the way, naming the atrocities, the horrors, the savagery that has befallen and has been directed at various pockets and different groups of Palestinian people throughout the years that have nothing to do with October the 7th. And in my fantasy, I would love to have a room where the door is locked and Mr. Blumenthal, who is far more adept and far more adroit and far more possessed of the encyclopedic facts than I am, certainly, because that is his area. You must know people who have their levels of expertise. But in any event, to have to do this, and what's even more interesting, is to sit there and to have Bill Maher say this to him, and go through this again, and say how Hamas and students are the same. And we'll leave it at that, okay? We'll just leave that there. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. That's number one. Number two, the good news is America doesn't give a shit about Israel and Palestine, so don't worry about it. Trust me, it's like abortion. Nobody cares about it. It's good in certain pockets, but deep down inside, meat and potatoes issues, no. Bread and butter issues, no. Nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about that. Nobody. Okay? You got that? You got that? Now, the next issue, which is even more interesting, did you happen to catch Tucker Carlson and Aaron Rodgers? Anybody? Did you hear this? Did you? Anybody? You still there? Okay, you're just talking about yourself. All right, fine. Keep talking. Don't bother me, please. Don't bother me. Anyway, it's one of the best things I ever saw in my life. And first of all, you must understand, and I told you this unique dynamic. Seeing Tucker Carlson with an NFL player is like seeing a little kid. Remember that Mean Joe Green commercial years ago, where they threw the T-shirt. He goes, "Hey Joe, you gonna have my Coke?" "No, really." He goes, "Hey kid," and he throws him the dirty sweatshirt or whatever it is, or the jersey. Dad look, thanks, Joe. That's Tucker. That's Tucker with Trump. That's Tucker with Dana White. That's Tucker with Kid Rock. That's Tucker with Aaron Mate. With Tate. Excuse me. That's him with men and the cool guys. You know what I mean? The cool guys. The rough, the alpha males, the males. You know you know what I mean? To be distinguished from Joe Rogan, who actually is one of those people who actually knows about fighting and all this kind of whatever. But that notwithstanding, but understand the perception of what it is. People love to. I know people who go crazy over stars. I know people who go crazy who have no idea about politics, but they look at politicians as a star. I told you somebody who said, I got a picture with Tulsi Gabbard. I said, do you know what Tulsi Gabbard says? No. Ask Tulsi about her Second Amendment position. What? Forget it. You know, Robert F. Kennedy. Robert F. Kennedy is such a sellout. It's not even funny. And nobody even remotely cares about it. But I digress. So anyway, so they were talking. And it was one of the most interesting conversations ever. When all the fandom kind of backed down a little bit. And still, you can hear the giddiness of Tucker. You can hear, and God bless him for doing this, but you can hear, because Aaron Rodgers is kind of basically saying, look, I'm just a football player and that kind of thing. And for Bobby Kennedy to offer him the vice presidency, come on. Seriously, you can't take somebody seriously. First of all, I'm sorry, but actuarially speaking, the chances of a Kennedy presidency terminating early, historically, actuarially, I'm sorry to say this, but you know it's true. I'm sorry. That's why Bobby Jr. was so adamant about deserving and warranting and needing Secret Service protection, which nobody at all in any way discounted. So he wants Aaron Rodgers. With all due respect to Aaron Rodgers could be the president of the United States. What are you kidding me? Seriously? I mean, do you want me to take you seriously? Do you? Do you expect me to take you seriously? Bobby Kennedy is a fraud. And if you don't understand this, he doesn't know what he wants to do. He was a sellout, big time. I don't even know I don't know where are you going to put it this way? The way he sounds, he makes Jared Kushner sound like Norman Finkelstein. This guy was. Have you followed this? Probably not. The whole Shmuley thing and Adelson and all. Okay, fine. Now remember, these are not bad people. These are not bad people, but these are people who are trying to commit my country and my treasury and my foreign policy aligned to a country that has nothing to do with us. Same goes for Ukraine. Same goes for NATO. Same goes for a lot of other things. Okay. So as I'm listening to this, they're talking about Alan Dulles, and they're talking about the notion of biomedical tyranny and biomedical martial law, and the ability that you should have in terms of autonomy over your body and autonomy over your ability to decide what you are going to take in your body. It's one thing to be able to say, hey, listen, we're going to throw you out if you don't wear a mask. Okay, I can dig that. I mean, if that's what you want. But you're telling me to put something in which somebody may not know about, may be frightened of, may have legitimate concerns over, may not need, may actually be hurt by virtue of whatever it is. And nobody, but it took Aaron Rodgers and Tucker to an extent to say, wait a minute, no. It was the most compelling interview you can imagine. And he showed me that we are on the verge of something so great and so wonderful. A new level, a new platform of information, a new level and platform of streaming news and opinion and commentary that we never even thought remotely possible. It is glorious, absolutely glorious. And the future looks so bright. I think I need shades. I think Tim Buck 3 said it best. It's wonderful for that. Wonderful. John Mearsheimer, and also speaking of great of kudos, and this, of course, what I'm saying will never be suggested. Trump is going to be as pro BB as you can imagine, and not necessarily so for Ukraine. That's a different story. But and the problem is, I don't have a. It's not that I have a problem with a country, but I don't like what's going on right now, and I do not want to aid and abet the carnage and the massacre that's going on right now in Gaza. You don't want to call it genocide? Fine. Let's call it massacre. Massacre might be more palatable for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for us to come to the realization that we're not going to play games anymore. And that all of the tricks and all of the reactions do not work anymore. Specifically, that no one is an anti-Semite. No one is anti-Semitic. No one is anti-Israel per se. Nobody is pro-Palestinian in terms of pro-liberty. And you might want to also, this has nothing to do, as far as I'm concerned, with Zionism, anything along those lines. It's very simple. This issue, this election is going to be dealing with, do you want the United States to be directly funding by terms of our cash, our munitions, weaponry, bombs, and the like, the means by which thousands of innocent people are slaughtered? It's that simple. And something that does not have to be. That has nothing to do with Hamas. Not at this level. Oh, there is a Hamas, and these are bad people vis-a-vis the Israelis. I'm not trying to suggest that for a moment. In fact, Hamas would be here. They'd be the first to agree. They'd be damn right but that's not what we're talking about. You don't want to drop a thermonuclear bomb on Vietnam because they pose a threat to Indo-Chinese shipping lanes. There is a thing called proportionality. And you can, my friend, you as an American, you can dismiss this all you want. You can say, I'm not that interested. But if you really want to be a part of this society, you better think about that. And you better be very, very interested about what are we going to do with China? What are we going to do with Russia? What are we going to do with the rest of the world? And where do we fit in? What are we going to do with the Great Reset? What are we going to do? I was on a show recently where I was listening to people talk about China, and it sounded like I'm talking to 5-year-olds. What does China want? China wants the same thing we want. In 1949, people were squatting and eating dirt with sticks. And what Mao started, and what Zhou Enlai did, and others, was nothing short of miraculous. And yet, the way we speak about this in our country is that we demonize China as some form of an evil enclave, this evil, power-hungry, maniacal, communist, like we're still using words like communism. Communism. Who cares about communism if it's in some other country? That's there. You got a problem with communism in Vietnam? Vietnam's great. You got a communism in Cuba? Communism is going to just implode. But the point of all this, dear friend, the point is simply that the American public has absolutely no concern. Could not tell you the first thing about it. Has no idea. Nothing. And they actually believe that the Chinese balloons that flew or that drifted across the country somehow was the beginning of our hegemonic problems. It's ridiculous. Do you know how many satellites China has? They steal our stuff, we steal their stuff, but they really steal our stuff. So what are we going to do with China? What are we going to do? Who runs the country in this country? We have no idea. Who really knows? They have no idea. And I realized that you've got going back to Bill Maher. You have Bill Maher, who is this comedian who's sitting, and Bill Burr is running rings around him, just destroying him, owning him. Get a chance to watch this, because believe it or not, it makes you understand the underlying facts of the particular issues before you even respond to this. What are we going to do with that? What do we do? What do we do? And I talk to people, and frankly, no matter how connected people are, I guess, politically or in terms of, they don't know anything. They don't know what I'm talking about. They have absolutely no idea what they're talking about. In 1972, during a period of time when we knew we had a tremendous amount of I think foreign affairs, IR, cachet and capital to spread around. We did a thing where there was China and Russia, and we stripped China from Russia, and basically through Nixon, and basically took them and then worked on Russia separately. And there were two things: pushback, kind of rollback, and containment. Containment is one thing, rollback's another. Rollback is a nice way of saying almost regime change in a way. What is going to be our consideration with Russia and China coming up? If we had a Mearsheimer in, who again I cannot say enough of how much I respect him, but if we had him, if we had a Colonel McGregor, whom I love him as well, head of our Joint Chiefs of Staff, our Secretary of Defense, we would be basically throwing the military-industrial complex away. We would be destroying the superstructure of the military-industrial complex. And I would not put, their life would not be worth a plug nickel with these people. Because the last time anything that affected them that existentially was John Kennedy. And you know where that came from. This is the most serious stuff in the world. It is beyond what is happening right now. We have no foreign policy. We are being pushed around. We don't have weapons. We need a cogent, coherent, adult, rational defense policy with a Secretary of Defense and a cabinet and a mentality that's rational. We can't be told what to do. When Bibi Netanyahu says that we should have our military shut down campus protesters, and that we're going to pass anti-Semitism statutes where people cannot even so much as possess the idea. Do you have any idea of what's happening with this? Is there anything that scares you, America? I don't think so. I don't think America knows what the hell I'm talking about. America just does not get what's happening. Stand by for a second, my friends. Because remember, what our job to do is not merely to complain, but to try to inspire people to pay attention as to what's going on. That's all. And one of the things which is so critical, so important, oh my God, is the notion of food, what you would do in the event of something seriously happening. And I swear to you, I'll never forget when I first brought this up, somebody said, I have a fishing pole. He actually said this. He has a fishing pole. And imagine a real shelter in place where you can't go outside because of some kind of contaminant or aerosolized poison or radiation or whatever. And he was to go out like Opie and Andy at the, at the fishing hole to catch some bream. This is This is what I deal with. People who just say stuff in this kind of like this Pavlovian response. Well, I got a fishing pole. I've got a desiccator. I can have banana chips and jerky with my carp. I mean, this is serious stuff. So listen carefully. It's no longer a question of if something catastrophic is coming, it's when. And while you still have some control, what are you going to do about it now to prepare? Well, your first step is going to my website, preparewithlionel.com. And for a limited time, take $200 off a 3-month emergency food supply. My Patriot Supply is equipped to help you and your family to prepare. They've helped over 2 million families already. These 3-month kits with ready hour foods provide over 2,000 calories every day with 22 varieties and a 25-year shelf life. Breakfast, lunches, dinners, drinks, snacks, everything. And they're sealed inside 6 rugged waterproof buckets, and they're over 120 pounds of food. So take advantage right now and go to preparewithlionel.com, preparewithlionel.com. One more time, preparewithlionel.com. There was a scene from The Godfather when Clemenza was talking to, I think, Michael, and I think he was showing Michael how to shoot. And by the way, do you know that the gun itself there was some historical, anyway. So Clemenza says to Michael, he says, Mike, we were really proud of you, how you're a war hero and everything. And he said something like, we should have stopped Hitler at the, whatever it was, but he made a reference to it. And I was thinking today, you couldn't have that conversation with an American. You couldn't have that conversation. You couldn't sit at a bar with somebody, have a beer, and say, the problem that we have is when the Soviet Union disbanded in 91, there really should have been a concomitant disbanding of NATO. And Kennan and others, and Kissinger and the wise men, and the famous XP said that with the dissolution of the Soviet Union should have been a dissolution of NATO. And any kind of expansion was a red line. And they would look at me, I'm sure, at a bar, and not because they were drunk, but they would say, I have no idea what you're talking about. But in 1945, 47, they would have known exactly what you were talking about, because they would have also known about maps, and they would have known about, and granted it was a world war, but they would have known something about it. At the height of Vietnam, when we were being drafted every single week, the American public still was not even conversant with what Vietnam was about. How the Gulf of Tonkin worked in, nothing. They didn't know who Ho Chi Minh was. They knew about the demonization of the yellow man and the gooks and Charlie and that sort of thing. We have an electorate, we have a country that doesn't know anything. We don't know anything culturally, scientifically, politically, philosophically, mathematically, education. We are the most deprived and the most bereft of some of the simplest of things, the basic concepts. I told you we have 25% of our Gen Zers don't even answer the phone. And this is going to be the next crop. This is it. They're going to be, forget it. Forget it. And we have right now 174 days, and things are changing drastically. And we're very prone to being lied to. We're very prone to having somebody coming along and telling us, this is your enemy. This is your enemy. This isn't your enemy. I think is an enemy of me right now? Canada. Not the Canadian people, but Trudeau. Canada, Australia. These are bastions of fascism and the complete truncation and really the elimination of basic civil rights. Canada and Australia. Anybody talk about that? Of course not. Of course not. Of course not. What's going to happen? How You know that social media, big tech is going to have to make an end around to gain some kind of control over what we're doing. There's no way that they are going to allow, there's no way that they are going to permit, how do I say this? There's no way they're going to permit us to say whatever we want, however we want to, and all of that kind of jazz. They're not going to permit this. So where is that going to go? And you know there's going to be a limitation. What happens during the next blast? It may not be COVID, it may not be something similar, but what happens next? What are we going to do next? And again, people, their smug answer is, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Now, I'm not talking about you. When I mean we, it's more than just you. What are we going to do? How are we going to? And again, this is the thing. The smarter we are, the better the politicians are. The more that we know, the better they will be. We have to know things, and we don't. We don't. We were talking the other day about nukes, about using nuclear bombs. And I said in passing to somebody, I said, well, we're not talking atom bomb, we're talking thermonuclear. And I could tell the person I was talking to didn't even understand the basics of what that even meant. I'm thinking, this is, and it's not just there. It's not just there. It's everywhere. So what are we going to do? How do we fix this? Well, the best thing we can do is, I hope, is that each of us has to realize it's on us. We have to do this. And you can't sit back and wait for me to tell you, okay, here's what's important today. You're going to have to be the autodidact. You're going to have to be able to teach yourself and to study yourself. Are you into self-study? Most people aren't. They never did it. You give me a couple of days on a subject, and then we'll circle back and we'll do a presentation, something that we've never, ever handled or discussed before. Whatever the subject is, let's you and I do this, okay? We'll circle back, as we say, as the kids say. We'll circle back, and we will find out who can learn the most about a subject we know nothing about. And I promise you, maybe not you, but for most people, I'll destroy them. It's not because I'm smarter. Not at all. It's because I love learning new things. I am absolutely cognizant of my own ignorance. And I know how to sit down and say, okay, I'm going to tackle this. I'm going to learn this. People don't know how to do it. They're not interested in things. Two people I'm very impressed with. Very much so. Joe Rogan and Lex Friedman. Joe Rogan, I like him for the following reason. He shows what it's like to be completely and totally in awe of something. He is able to show almost like a childlike look of shock and surprise and awe over the notions when he talks about, and you can see it the way he talks about how they built the pyramids and how that happened, and how it's so wonderful and refreshing to hear this. There's a show I told you called Breaking Points, and there was a version on today with Emily and Ryan about AIPAC using this 314 group to target to get back at a progressive kind of pro-Palestinian congressperson or whatever it was. It was maybe 8 minutes, 9 minutes to, young people, younger, everybody's younger. And they showed an absolute excitement in the subject matter. And I'm thinking to myself, can you imagine any of the jadruls on the Fox show showing any interest in this whatsoever? Can you believe this? Can you believe them talking about something that, no. That's why we are being saved by this new flair, this new bossa nova, this new regimen, this new contingent, this new retinue, this new consortium and cadre and cavalcade and coven of new news people who really like talking about the subjects. And it's going to blow all these people away. It's going to destroy them. They have no idea of what they're talking. They have no idea. And the number of people out there, the young people. And let me tell you something right now. There is a time to get, I've never seen so many people show so much interest regarding anything as they've indicated, as to Palestine. Never. Yeah, there was some kind of little bit about climate here and there, but not. Yeah, there was some LGBTQ stuff, but never. This has unearthed, has opened and targeted a group of people who are themselves so important and so critical to be targeted, to be courted, to be cultivated, grasped. Is anybody from the Republican Party doing that? No. I don't think anybody from the Democrat Party is doing. Nobody. They're there. We have all of these people, all of these folks. We're sitting there, and it's like I don't know what the analogy is, like a wildflower or something that just nobody's ever cultivated these before. Where have these been? They've been here the whole time. I would say we're going to get them somehow. We're going to get them. There is a resurgence. Think about this. When was the last time you saw anybody en masse protest at campuses like this? This seriously, this ardently, this ferociously? Since Vietnam. They don't do this. There's been nothing like it. And my contemporaries, people my age, they're sitting around scratching their ashes, doing nothing. They're saying, oh, well, no, you don't understand. What are you doing to get these people on board? They're there. They're showing you. Show them some interest. Deal with them. Nah. They wear their keffiyeh. There's a bunch of rabble-rousers. Nah, they're all for Hamas. Screw them. We don't want to do. Now, coming up in June, there's going to be the annual Israeli Appreciation Day. It's a big parade here in New York. That's going to be something. I don't pray, but if I prayed, I would pray there would be no violence. This is bigger than anything you can imagine. This is bigger than anything you can imagine. And when you and if you want to really see again what's going on, listen to what Bill Maher says, how he's able to reduce this to absolute nothinghood. Now, coming up the end of the week, tomorrow, I think tomorrow they're off as well for the Trump trial. It's going to be the end. I think Michael Cohen either is done or soon to be done, whatever it is. I am telling you that this case is in such flux, and people speak about it with such certitude. Well, they don't have any kind of a case. There's no way that they're going to win an appeal. And I hear this absolute certitude. It's like, you don't even know what the hell you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. This is serious business, my friend. Serious business. That jury most probably is going to come back and say, screw you. I don't care what Morning Joe says or Ainsley. We're going to find him guilty. Okay, we'll find him not guilty of, let's say, 17 and guilty of 17 counts. So 50%. But he's going to be a convicted felon. And Mershon will say, I was the one who did it. Alvin Bragg can't say it because it's this Colangelo, the people from DOJ. And you can listen to all these great people, including, I think, the best voice is Andy McCarthy. I think he is head and shoulders above everybody else. But I'm thinking to myself, I like to say, Andy, what are you talking about? This is great. This is great for a law review article. They don't, the jury's not going to, they're not reading this. I hope they're not. Well, maybe, I hope they are, but they're probably not. People have this idea that, well, we're right. Say, no, it doesn't work like that. I know what I'm talking about. Let's say during the OJ case, it's like they're going to find him not guilty. And the reason why is because there's so much reasonable doubt here. Because of the blood. The timeline, this and that. I'm telling you, no, OJ killed him. No, you said that. My friends, I don't know how to say this other than a kind of a, sounds rather obvious. I want you to listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. I mean, especially here. And you know what else I know about? A lot about? Luxuriation and pillows and free speech. And our good friend Mike Lindell from mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. It's time yet again, my friends, to hail and salute our great friends at mypillow.com. And if you use promo code Lionel, you'll get a free gift. No purchase necessary. And yes, I know a free gift. It's a tautology, so sue me. But first, listen carefully. Check out their $25 extravaganzas. Premium My Pillows, Queen and King, My Pillow 2.0, My Pillow bed sheets, the lowest price ever. Sandals, slides, slippers, 6-piece towel sets, 4-pack dish towel sets. Simply and absolutely unbelievable. So go to mypillow.com/Lionel, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel, or call 800-645-4965 and watch how fast Mike Lindell answers the phone. mypillow.com, simply and absolutely the best. My friends, this is going to be the most telling time, and I am so afraid, by virtue of what I'm seeing in a lot of areas, that Americans just don't have any clue. I'm sorry to say this, but Americans, we are not one for nuance and really knowing what's going on here. But if anything, the best thing to do is, if you don't want to vote for Trump, hold your nose and vote for him. I think he's got it this time. In a last-ditch effort at what the hell-ism, Joe Biden says, "I'm going to do my best." Well, I'm going to. What do you say? We're going to debate. Yeah, that's it. And they spliced together some audio or something, I guess, where his Adderall was titrated correctly, and he was sounding somewhat, rational, somewhat mildly coherent and cogent, and that will be the greatest event ever. He wants it done at a TV station, no audience. He wants the sound down. He wants the mic to be cut. The mic to be cut. So that means that when you're done, so if Trump's done or whatever, Trump will be able to hear what's going on. Well, or the audience won't be able to hear what Trump is saying. The funny part about this is that Biden will still hear this. So if Trump says you're an asshole, granted, it may not be on the mic, but people will hear that, and it will throw Biden off, and it could provide the opportunity for Trump to say, "Oh, I didn't say anything. You're an incompetent rube. How about your daughter's diary? Did you really shower with her? What? I didn't say anything. But you said something. No, they cut my mic. Did you say that? You didn't say anything about me not talking. You cut the mic. You cut the mic. Did you say something? I didn't say anything. Okay, thank you. President Biden, you're an asshole. No, I didn't say anything. You cut the mic. Go ahead, continue with bullshit. I'm just clearing my throat. I don't know what you give me a hard time. I didn't say anything. You cut the mic. Nobody. I mean, what else you want? Any other thing? You want me not to say anything, not to react, not to think? Anything else you want me to do? This is going to be a disaster. And they want 3 of these things? I don't think so. The question is, my friends, how is it that they get rid of Trump? Excuse me. Bite my lip. How they get rid of Biden and put in Gavin Newsom. Because there's no way that this guy can make it 6 months from now. You know it and I know it. Okay? So that's it, my friends. Do me a favor, make sure you follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. We'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the morning for our version of this thing of ours. So we'll be dissecting the just people who just don't know what the hell they're talking about, which seem to be everywhere. In any event, until then, my friends, have a great night. Thanks for watching. And don't forget, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue ya. Ta-ta.